Hey, what's up YouTube? We're back again here. I just want to do a quick review. This is, what is this, September 16th, 2019. I've had this vehicle for, as of last May, 2 years, so 2 years and a few months now. I just wanted to give a quick update and overview. I bought it with 109,000 miles on it. This is the Jeep Liberty Limited version. The things that I've done so far as just extra is I swapped out the wheels on here. These are the Renegade Liberty style wheels that they used. I felt that these ones here are a little bit slicker looking than the ones that were on there. If anybody has any 235 by 70/16 more aggressive all-terrain tires that would fit on here that are still in good shape and you're asking a decent price, let me know. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here. I'm definitely interested in purchasing them. These tires are a little expensive. It's just a quick top and around view of the vehicle. I did just wash and detail spray it, so it is fairly clean. So for me, it's been holding up pretty well. When I first purchased it from the dealer, if you look up here, this whole section over here was all bubbled up and rusted through. I'm going to do a little bit better job on this. This was just a rough, quick finish. So I took this off. Over here, it was a little rough too. And I cleaned up the rust and put some metal in here and then put some fiberglass over it, primed and painted it with factory blue, threw some clear over it, and replaced this too because it was kind of faded. This came from a junkyard Jeep Liberty. It doesn't look very well. I mean, I do plan on going through, sanding this down, maybe put some icing, reprime it, and then actually paint and clear this professionally. I do have a paint gun and an air compressor, but for now it's just a rough finish. So that's one area that these do tend to rust out around here and bubble up pretty bad. Spare tire cover that we picked up for it. Actually, a friend of mine gave that to me that he had on his Wrangler that he decided to trade in, so he gave that to me. This is a 3.7 Limited, 2004. Some that are Jeep enthusiasts might recognize that these aren't the correct taillights. 2004 and below, this section here would have been an orange color. 2005 and above, up to I think 07, they used a clear with an orange bulb. Well, one of my tail lenses were cracked internally and was getting water, so I found ones at the junkyard and replaced them out with a newer version and just put in the orange bulbs. So that's something some of you guys might pick up on. The other thing that if you guys watched my video that says I bought a Jeep Liberty video that I also have on my channel, I probably brought up the fact that the dealership had done the rocker panels. Unfortunately, they did a horrific job on that and actually caused more damage and more rust because they attached the layover panels that they got right over top of the rust and the holes without actually cleaning up any of the old stuff. So and they didn't treat the back of the panels with any kind of paint or primer or anything, so they rotted through almost a year and a half. I'd say actually within the first year they already started to bubble up, or less. Year and a half they were completely shot, and finally just about, I'd say 2 months ago, I decided to go ahead and tackle that myself. Now unfortunately, let me go ahead and unlock this. I do not have a welder, and I couldn't find anybody that seemed too interested in getting involved in helping me because nobody enjoys doing rust repair. So what I did was I did cut out all of the bad stuff that was on the old rocker, removed the slip-on covers that they had put on, and then I went ahead and bought replacement ones on eBay. $48 free shipping. They're just layovers. I did have to trim them down there a little bit too long, probably about an inch or inch and a half too long. Use seam sealer. It's not the prettiest, and put a big, well, first I also cleaned up and removed all the bad stuff. And once I removed and cleaned up the bad stuff, I also went ahead and put on the primer and some rust converter. So hopefully that will at least buy me some time. Nothing's going to stop rust, guys, but hopefully that'll buy me some time. And then just place a few random rivets here There's one right here as well. Just a few random rivets just to hold it in place. And then with the seam sealer, I then primed and painted both sides of the rockers. And if you look down there, I also added in these bolt with a nut on them to help attach them to the pinch weld that was cleaned up. And it looks pretty shiny. I actually used the factory color on those, and not only used the factory color, but I also clear coated it. I put several coats of clear coats. I did a base coat clear coat paint on this, and used the professional sprayer from the air compressor. So it's not the neatest job, it's not the best job, but if you would have seen what was on there before, you would have definitely say that from 20 feet away it looks a hell of a lot better than it did with the big rust holes coming through. So that I had to do. I also had to do it on the driver's side. There's some scratches here. These were here from the previous owner. You know, some little going on there. Looks like she bumped into something, the previous owner, on it. So this is the front view again. I'll show you the rockers that I did on this side. There's the rocker panel on this side. Like I said, not the greatest. Auto body guys are probably cringing right now looking at this, but for someone at home with limited tools, with semi-decent skills in painting, it looks a lot better than it did. I tell you what, I wish I would have recorded some before and after. I may include at the end of this video so you can see the holes that were revealed. We did take pictures, so I may throw those on, just some random picture clips at the end to show you. This is the inside of the vehicle. The sunroof does not work. I haven't tried it since I grabbed another switch at the U-Pull-It junkyard, but I haven't tried it since then, so it may work, and I don't know. Last time I got it opened, it got stuck open, and I had to keep fiddling with it. Eventually I did get it closed, and I haven't touched it since, so I haven't played around with that. It's the interior. It's the beige interior. Cloth. It's in good shape. It's been shampooed a couple times and steam cleaned. I always do that with my vehicles. It's the interior. I did put the aftermarket JVC head unit in it. The only complaint I have about this setup is this is only a DIN and a half, and it's not a double DIN, so you have to modify and do some cutting to put a double DIN radio in. So I may get one of those head units that come out and have the screen that flips up. The problem is it blocks these vents, so I've been exploring that idea. This is the inside of it here. Also has this overhead console up here, which is kind of a neat feature. It gives you like the weather, or I'm sorry, the temperature outside. Compass, as well as your oil life and your fuel economy is up there. You know, how many miles per gallon you have before you're empty and how many miles per gallon you're getting. The little vanity mirrors. Hi guys. Has the auto dimming mirror on this as this Liberty, which is nice. So I have had to replace this window regulator. That window regulator there has also, the rear passenger side also had to be replaced. Both rear door lock actuators that also act as the door latch had to be replaced. Once the inside of the vehicle gets warmed up inside, it like on a hot day, they get real sluggish and just don't work until the inside cools off the compartment. Which is probably just from being worn out. When I bought it, it had 109 on it. Let me see if I can display the numbers here. Let me get some keys. I will go ahead and pop the key in ignition and get you the... We're at 122,749. And that's the current mileage. This vehicle, as I mentioned before in the previous video of when I first bought it 2 years ago, they did put a transmission in it, a used transmission. Still seems to be holding up, which is nice. I was concerned because the Clutch volume index were a little bit out of range, which means the clutches are kind of worn. That's a view of the back seat. So that's what it looks like back there. Still in good shape. I did have a water leak, so I had to have all the carpet. I removed all the carpet and left the carpet out for a couple days just on the bare metal to remove the driver's seat to try to find the water leak. It turns out the water leak was actually being caused by this weather strip. So if you have a weird water leak where the water puddles underneath your driver's seat and you can't figure out where it's coming from, or the passenger seat, and it doesn't seem to be coming in anywhere, check this seal along here. Because right along inside here, this got all dry rotted and corroded and was starting to have little rips in it. And the water was going down through the door and it was leaking out right here. And then it was puddling up in here and running down into here and was getting kind of a musty smell. So I removed all the carpet and steam cleaned it and shop vacked it and fixed that. I went ahead and replaced the one on that door too because it was starting to get a little bit on the iffy side and I did not want to have to deal with that as well. The only other thing I've done brakes, rear and front brakes. I did the front struts on here. The struts I put on some ones from Detroit Axle in there. You probably can't even see them. The Detroit Axle struts I probably would say are okay, but the only complaint I had about them is that the length was different, so I had to do some creativity to get the front ride height to where it was supposed to be again and move the sleeve around from the knuckle to where it needed to be in order to get the ride height back to where it needed to be. I also replaced tie rod ends and the upper control arms. The only thing it really needed was the upper control arm on the driver's side because the ball joint was bad, which is not serviceable on these. You have to replace the whole control arm. I went ahead and replaced it only, both sides just so they'd both be done. So those are changed out. Tie rod ends were fine, but the boots were completely ripped, so I knew eventually they would go, so I replaced the tie rod link ends. Those are done. I do need to get an alignment from doing all of that. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to really show you here. I did replace, since I've owned it, the gas shocks right here on the lift gate. I also had to replace the actuator latch on this too because it also failed. Those two backdoor ones and this latch slash actuator I replaced from the U-Pull-It junkyard. The hitch was installed for the reason of a recall where Jeep and Chrysler put those on for free because of gas tanks supposedly being at risk from a rear-end collision. They would explode, so the hitch is supposed to give you a little bit extra protection, but I don't think it's going to really do too much extra help. The only reason why I have the hitch link in it here is because I have a bike rack that I'm going to start using on there. Close this up here. You can see too a little bit more of that body work there. It's a little rough. It's even starting to come through a little bit right there. So I need to tend to that and get that all fixed up right there. So, and we'll go one more time around and then we'll go ahead and pop the hood. Let you take a look at the underneath the hood and start it. I did put an aftermarket transmission cooler in here. So if you look right here, you can see the hose that I adapted to go to it, and I positioned it and placed it on the back of the, or on the front of the AC condenser here. I got it Advanced Auto. That is to help bring down the temperature. The original one goes across the bottom inside the bumper. It's a long rectangular one, and I replaced it because it felt like it was plugged, probably because of the failing transmission that they had put in. They didn't flush out the cooler. I didn't care for the high temperature on the transmission, so I put that aftermarket cooler in there. And and I also added a remote start to this, which is a really awesome feature. We're going to go ahead and pop the hood. I did not install an emergency brake. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I did not install the kill switch for the remote start for the emergency brake. And I also did not install the kill switch for the hood latch either for the remote start. So that is kind of dangerous, but it's my own vehicle, and well, I'm not an idiot, so I'm not gonna do anything under the hood without, you know, being careful not to remote start it by accident. So this is the 3.7 liter. Like I had mentioned in a previous video of when I first bought it, I can tell somebody has been in here and they replaced the valve cover gaskets. I did put a new battery in it. The battery that was in it was already a used one that the dealer put in, and I don't know how good it was. So it's got a Advanced Autocraft in it, gold. I did put a power steering pump, a used one, on from a lower mileage vehicle at the U-Pull-It because it was whining pretty bad. I also had to replace this line here, which is this, basically goes to the air filter here, back to above the valve covers back there. It's kind of hard to see. It cracked on me, so $16 at the dealership. I didn't think that was too bad. And I did a coolant flush. Transmission fluid still looks good. It's only 2 years old. It was brand new in there whenever they had put the transmission in, the used one. The oil I've kept up on. I've done probably about 4 oil changes now since I've owned it. I use the Pennzoil Platinum, not a sponsor, but 5W30. I absolutely love that oil. I've used many, many different types of oils since I've owned vehicles or been working on vehicles for 16 years. Sort of a shade tree mechanic, I consider myself, and I've used several different oils, and that's the one that I feel that keeps the engine the cleanest, keeps the engine the quietest, and also it doesn't seem to tap as much. Like Mobil 1 oil, I mean, nothing against them, just I found with Mobil 1 oil they seem to really kind of have an upper engine tap with every vehicle I've put it in, and it seems to, if your engine's consuming oil a lot, just because it's either high mileage or something, I found also Mobil 1 seems to consume a lot quicker. So I prefer the well, Valvoline's decent too, but I prefer the Pennzoil Platinum is what I use in pretty much all my vehicles that I service, including my friends, family, and parents, you know, cars. So that's a good look there at the engine. I'll go ahead and start it up. I'll use my remote start here that I installed to start it. We can kind of hear what the engine sounds like. I just got to figure out what I did with the keys. They're around here somewhere. Where did I do it? Ah, there they are. They're still in the seat. So I'll go ahead and use this remote start. Now, if you do a remote start aftermarket on here, you want to make sure they have a multiplex system, it's called, for the electrical system. So it uses a CAN system to deliver the message to the PCM or body control module possibly too, to enable the lights to blink. And there is set voltages, set resistances. So you do need to make sure that if you hook up a remote start to this in aftermarket, you want to get a relay, a special relay, as well as which isolates the light system so that you don't burn up the driver in the computer for the light system. And also you need a 910 ohm resistor to go to the parking lights, and that's what gives you the parking lights that flash whenever you start the vehicle, so you can see from inside that your vehicle's running. So you want to make sure you just don't tap that right in. You want to use a relay as well as a resistor, which I believe is 910 ohms. So that's AC compressor kicking on. I'll turn that off real quick before I finish so you can hear what it sounds like without the AC running. So we'll turn off that AC so you can hear. I leave the AC on so that you can hear the, so to cool off the vehicle before I come out to get into it, so it's already cooled off. AC compressor was also replaced by the dealership that I bought it off of. I get a lot of people that have a lot of issues or that don't like these 3.7s. They're not the smoothest running engine, but I'll tell you what, I've had it for 2 years, and number one thing that people complain about is, I guess, head gaskets and, you know, dropping valve seats or valve springs and causing the rockers to fall off the top of the valves. And then head gasket was the other issue. But, you know, I'll tell you what, that's the only complaint I don't have about the vehicle is the engine. The engine is extremely powerful. Everybody says, oh, these things are weak, but, you know, for this 3.7, it goes. You know, I don't have any complaints about how well the engine pulls. at all. So I'll go back to the exhaust so you can hear it. I did put replace exhaust with a used exhaust from the cat back because I don't like the aftermarket exhausts that you buy at the auto parts because they're Walker and they tend to not last for more than a year and a half. The reason why I did that was I found a wrecked one of these in the U-Pull-It junkyard with a muffler from the cat back exhaust that actually sounded or was in really good shape. It wasn't all rotted out or rusted, and the factory OEM stuff seems to last a lot longer from what I've seen. So it actually came in off an 04 from out of state that's not in the rust belt. So I'll let you hear that. The catalytic converters were also replaced at $90,000 by the previous owner at the dealership. So yeah, that would be pretty much all I can say about this. I just wanted to give you guys out there, you Jeep Liberty lovers, a follow-up video on my Liberty to let you know how it's been. It has not left me stranded or given me any issues really, other than just fixing what other people screwed up, as far as, like I said, the slap happy rocker panels that they did, which is pretty sad, because if they would have just done them right, I wouldn't have been back in there doing them again. But it's a used car sales deal, used car salesman for you. The dealership I got it from what I've read, all their online Google reviews, they're extremely shady, and they're known for doing this and selling a bunch of stuff that they bought extremely cheap and just slapped together, which is exactly what they did to me. Buyer beware. I should have known better. Should have paid closer attention. Being a person that's interested in cars, I should have caught some of that. But like I said, buyer beware. You just have to do your homework and make sure that you look over the vehicle properly. Maybe have a mechanic look at it if you're not completely comfortable with vehicles. So other than that, let me know what you guys think. That's my 2004 Jeep Liberty Limited. It is the Patriot Blue, and 4-wheel drive, automatic. So let me know what you think, and please rate, comment, subscribe, and if any of you Jeep Liberty guys out there, share your stories about yours. I'd love to hear about them. Oh, also, like I said, don't forget, if anybody in my area has tires, I'm looking for, these tires are pretty much spanked. These were takeoff from a 2016 Jeep Wrangler that my friend bought that upgraded the wheels and the tires, so I took the tires off and mounted them on these wheels, which are the Renegade wheels, like I had mentioned earlier. So if anybody has any 235 by 7016, comment if you're within the Pittsburgh area. I don't really want to get into shipping and PayPal and all that stuff. I'd rather just pay cash. So if you're around the area, let me know. I would like to get some tires on this. I'll definitely be buying some before inspection in February. It's currently the mid-September, so after February of 2020, just disregard that for tires, because by then should have already put some on there. So, I also replaced the rear shocks too. Forgot to mention that, with the Detroit axle ones, and they seem to be holding up pretty fine, so no problem there. So other than that, I thank you for watching, and please rate, comment, and subscribe. Take care, guys.